Hello. Today I'm gonna do back up a little. I don't know if the lighting's like off or not. Hello. Today I'm gonna do the mid-year book tag, mid-year freakout book tag, because we're halfway through the year. But like, I don't know why in my head it was like, oh, halfway through the year should be July, not June. And now it's like June and I'm like, oh yeah, well, 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then the month of 6 would be June. So technically we are halfway through the year and I was just not doing my maths right. So I wanted to do the mid-year freakout book tag, or the mid-year freakout tag with the questions. I did it like a couple years ago. I had fun with it. Now that I'm trying to get back into reading, like, it's gonna be so much fun again. But the only thing is that this year, compared to like past years, I guess I could say, for the past couple years I just haven't been reading that much. I've only read 17 books this year compared to a couple years ago where it might have been like, I don't know, 60 or 50 or something like that. But like, pretty much my good year's goal for this year was like, I think 40 books. I just wanted to keep it low in case I was like still in like my silly little reading slump. And now that it's like halfway through the year and I've only read 17, I'm not even halfway through that. It's like, well, whatever, but you know, it's fine. You know. So let's just get into it. As for the questions, I'm doing the 10 original tag questions. I believe they're the 10 original tag questions. And then an additional 8 by Katie Whitrick, because I just thought it would be more fun. And I saw Sarah Hafid's video and I was like, oh, that looks like fun. So I'm doing her extra 2 questions too. So there's a lot of questions. I think there's, I don't know, I'm gonna be recycling or like repeating a lot of books because I've read 17, so it's not like many, but there's a lot of questions, so it's okay. As for the best book I've read so far this year, I have 2. The first one being The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have read this probably 2 or 3 times already. I think I read it like twice this year. I could be wrong, but I had read this in high school. I really enjoyed it, and then I was revisiting it while I was in university because Elizabeth Acevedo was actually coming to my university to like give a talk about like her books, her writing process, about her experience as a Dominican in the US, like just like things like that. And I was like, oh, like I should read her book and read all of her other books. So I just went kind of like down a spiral and read a couple of her books before she came, and I really enjoyed it. I forgot how much I love this book. Like, I had rated it 5 stars, I think, the first time I read through it, and this time I'd give it another 5 stars. It was like, oh, I forgot that I really liked this book and it was really good. I think the first time I read the prose and the second time I listened to the audiobook, and Elizabeth Acevedo actually reads the audiobook for you, and it was just phenomenal. She has like such a good narrating voice, and the story is always just, it hits. It's so good. I really enjoy the characters and the way that they grow and the way that they interact with each other, especially like Xiomara. She's just a girl trying to figure things out and trying to figure out like her family situation, trying to figure out her boy things, trying to figure out her school, trying to figure out her passions. I really like that, like in that sense. I remember, I don't really remember it the first time, but I remember it like last time and it was so good. I really enjoyed it, and it just made it all better to like get to like see the author, have her like talk about her books and everything. It was such an amazing experience. So this is definitely one of my favorite books of 2024. The second one that I picked was 1984 by George Orwell. I listened to this on Audible with the like Audible thing. It's like an Audible exclusive, and it's kind of like narrating the book for you. It didn't quite feel like an audiobook. I felt like I was listening to like I felt like I was actually there. It was I'm like still blown away by it. My dad recommended the book to me and I was like, why am I gonna like a classic? Like, I don't like classics or whatever. But I like went through that book in like a couple days, or just one, I don't remember, but it was so good. I was sitting there and I was like, it blew my mind. I remember reading Animal Farm by him, like George Orwell as well, and I didn't like that at all. But reading 1984 was like, holy cow. I was shook. By the end of the book, I was like, I can't believe he wrote this. This is crazy. Like, I could totally see where he's coming from and how we're going to that point. It was, I don't know, it was phenomenal. it blew my mind, and I still think about it, and it was one of my favorite reads from this year so far. So 1984 by George Orwell and The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo are like my top two. I have a third one, which is Holes by Louis Sa. I don't know how to say his name, Satcher. I really enjoyed this book, but I actually don't think. I wrote it down as like one of my favorite books, but I don't think it was. It was just a lot of fun when I read it in the moment. The second question is the best sequel. Crest by Marissa Meyer. I haven't read a lot of sequels this year. I've mostly just like been mood reading on and off here and there. This is like a comfort read. I always go back to it when I feel like I need to just read and pick something up that's quick. She writes fast paced. It fits with what I ever feel in the moment. It makes me excited to read, and I don't know, that's why I think this is the best sequel of 2024. Aside from the fact that I'm not very sure I've read any other ones besides Scarlet and Winter, which are also in her series. Yeah, which are also like, that's just a whole series. So I would say Cress was probably my favorite sequel of like the four of them, at least in the Lunar Chronicles, because it's just the one that feels the most fast paced, and it's just, I don't know, I like the most. The third question is new releases you want to read. I've been seeing Funny Story by Emily Henry everywhere, or I've been seeing Emily Henry like everywhere. Like, she seems to be a really good author. I haven't read any of her books and I want to get to it. I don't know, she seems interesting. So Funny Story by Emily Henry and Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I've also seen that one more recently everywhere. Those two are like the top two books that I see everywhere and I have interest in reading. And I think they're both romances, so those are two books that I want to get to, and I think they're new releases as well. So most anticipated release, I'm not super sure. I'm not up with new releases ever since I stopped reading for a while, but yeah, I don't really have an answer to that. Number 5 is the biggest surprise. So I have 3 biggest surprises and then one like not really good surprise. The first one is Holes by Louis Sachar. I didn't think I would like this book, actually. I just thought it would be like whatever. I had tried reading it once. I was like, I don't really feel like reading this, so I put it down, and then I read it again on plane in the sitting for leaving for Mexico, and it blew my mind. I love the way that the stories, like, there's 2 different perspectives from like the boy digging holes at the camp, and then another perspective of his great grandfather, I think, and how like their stories are connected. And it blew my mind. I read like a tidbit from the author, and he talked about how he wasn't really sure how to connect them and initially, and it was like an idea that he was about to scrap, but I think he did it like an amazing job about like integrating both like the great-grandfather's story with the present, the way what the boys are dealing with. So I really was surprised by this book. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, especially because it's also middle grade, and I'm not a super big middle grade reader. The second biggest surprise was A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I didn't think I would like this book that much either, because I was like going through it, I was like, this is whatever. But then once it started picking up the pace, I was like, oh, like, I can't believe I actually like this. I read it because it had been on my TBR for such a long time that I was like, oh, let me try to read that and see what I would have wanted to read a long time ago. And I actually really enjoyed it. So I was surprised by that. I didn't think I would actually like it. Third biggest surprise, 1984 by George Orwell. Like I said, I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, especially because it's a classic, and I didn't like the other Animal Farm by George Orwell. So I was like, oh, if I don't like Animal Farm, like, I bet you all his other books are like this, and it's a classic, so why do I want to read classics? But it was such a good book. I totally recommend it. Especially like the Audible experience. I was blown away. And lastly, my other biggest surprise was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Needham. Funny story is that I actually tried reading this a while ago. I listened to the audiobook one day when I was traveling. I was in like the airport to Chicago, and I was like, what am I listening to? What am I reading? Like, this doesn't quite, I don't know. I remember it being so popular a long time ago and a lot of people talking about it. So I was like, oh, it's gotta be like a pretty good book, I guess. And it had been sitting on my TBR for a while, so I was like, why not? But then when I actually started reading it, I was like, I don't know if I like this. Like, it's making me uncomfortable. And it kind of gave off fake deep type, I don't know, like, it was like, you're trying to be deep, but it isn't quite hitting for me, and I don't know if it's because it was made for younger audiences or if it's because I just didn't quite connect with the characters, or I don't know what it was. I just didn't really like it that much. And then on top of that, I didn't like the characters. I thought they were annoying. I really didn't like the book. It hit me the wrong way, and I guess I could say why it was popular. I think it came out around the same time, like 13 Reasons Why, so I think that's why. But I really did not like the book, and I was really surprised that I didn't like the book too, because I thought, since so many people were talking about it a long time ago, it would be good. I don't think many people are talking about it anymore, but I was surprised that I just didn't like it at all. Fifth question is your favorite new author. Elizabeth Acevedo, because I went on like a binge reading session and just read a few of her books. I read her book about hair, I forgot the name of it, and then I read The Poet X again, and then I think I tried reading another one of her books. I think those were the only two, actually. I got carried away with school. This is probably what it was. But yes, Elizabeth Acevedo is one of my new favorite authors. Number 7 is your newest fictional crush. I don't really have one yet, I guess. I don't feel like I've read many books for me to like have a new fictional crush, so it's okay. Number 8 is books that made you cry. I'm gonna go off again. The Poet X. I forgot the ending of the book, and it did kind of make me a little sad. In university, you have your shared kitchen. I was in the basement. It was like midnight. I was listening to the book, and I was like, I can't believe that would happen. 1984 didn't make me cry, but it did make me sit there and like in shock for a solid hour. I was like actually shook to my core. I couldn't believe. I like genuinely couldn't believe how good the book was. It really got to me. It didn't make me cry though, but it was an emotion that evoked just as much. I don't know. Number 9 is a book that made you happy. I'm just gonna point out the whole series. So this is what I've read. I read Cinder last year, and then I finished the rest of this, the Lunar Chronicles, again for like the 3rd time. But this book, the series, always makes me really happy. It like always reminds me of the joy of reading and why I love reading so much. So I'd say these 3 books. Number 10 is the most beautiful book bought or received. I'm not sure, actually. I don't think I have any. I don't know where I put all my bought books either. This year? I'm actually not very sure where a lot of my books are, but I'm gonna go crazy. I'm actually not sure. I don't think I have beautiful books bought, but this one's pretty cool. She's like holding a very realistic heart. Oh, it's called A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. And it kind of looks like a painting. I don't know what it's about though. And I got it at a bookstore by my university, so it was a staff pick, which is why I got it. So I guess that could count, but I don't think I bought a beautiful book this year. I try to keep like my book buying low because I only have such limited space in a dorm. So question number 11 is books that I need to read by the end of the year. I want to finish the Gemma Doyle series by Libba Bray. So I read the first one, A Great and Terrible Beauty, and I want to read the other 2 just to like finish the trilogy and try to keep up with series. And then another one is books by Isabel Ibanez. She's a Spanish author, and I'm trying to get back into like, well, not back into, but I just want to read more Spanish reads because I'm going to Spain this year. So now on to Katie Whitrick's questions. Books that I need to reread. I really want to reread The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I read it when I was in high school, and I think it's like time to reread this book because in high school I was like kind of reading for the sake of reading, and I understood it. I thought it was good. I thought it was alright, but I want to reread it and see if I understand like the concepts and the themes a little bit deeper. So yeah, that's mostly just that. That's mostly the reason why. And then another book I want to reread is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton because I've been feeling like I want to read like another sci-fi like his again. I don't know. I really kind of miss his writing. I read it like a long time ago, and I just want to come back to it and see what it is. Those 2 are the books that I want to reread. Number 2 of her questions is my favorite author this year. Most likely Marissa Meyer. Like I said, I read 3 of her books this year, and I'll probably try reading Heartless again. So this is also a really good book. And Stars Above, which I have actually never read. And I think that she came out with new releases that I was just like unaware of, so I want to read those as well. Number 3 is books that I've been putting off, and this is like literally anything in a series. If I pick up a series, I just kind of put off the books. I don't know why. I don't know. This specifically, nothing specifically, just books in a series. Number 4 is book I enjoyed with mixed reviews. I'm not super sure about that either. Number 5, series I want to finish. Like I said, the Gemma Doyle series. Number 6 is 5-star predictions. Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think that came out last year, but I think it'll be a 5-star because when I went to the author event at my university with Elizabeth Acevedo, she read a little bit of her book, like a chapter or so, and it was like mind-blowing. I was like I said, she's such a good narrator, so her voice makes like all the difference. I think Family Lore will be a 5-star for me. Number 7 is, do I think I'll reach my reading goal and will I do anything to change it? I paraphrase the questions in my little journal. I don't know how many it is. Like I said, I'm at 17 books, and honestly, I don't know if I'll finish my 40 books. I have a lot going on for the rest of the year, but I think that it's okay. I don't think I'm gonna change it. I might try to keep it low for the next couple years because I want to try reading longer books instead of shorter books, but I don't know. I'm just gonna be easy with myself because I've been in that silly little reading slump for a couple years, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm having fun with it though, so I'm not changing my goal for 40. I'll probably try going for it, but I don't know if I'll reach it. And the 17 books I've read so far this year they were all alright. So number 8 is any new goals. I definitely want to read more in Spanish. I haven't read any books in Spanish this year, and I want to try making my Spanish better by reading in Spanish. So that's what I'm hoping for. And then Hera Hafid's question, do I have any DNFs? I have a couple DNFs, but they're all soft DNFs, so I'm planning to come back to them. The first one being This Vicious Grace by Emily Thied. You can see that I'm a little bit into it, but my mom gave this to me for a blind book date, and I started reading it on that same trip to Mexico, but I never got to it because we just got busy with family stuff, traveling, you know how it goes. So this is a book that I DNF'd, but I do want to come back to it. The second one being No Todos los Besos Son Iguales by Elmer Mendoza. I DNF'd about that much, not that far in. Most of these are not that far in, but I'm on chapter 3. I also want to get back to this book. It's in Spanish. It's a Sleeping Beauty. What was I gonna say? Sleeping Beauty? It's a Sleeping Beauty fairy tale retelling, and I love fairy tale retellings. Fairy tale retellings are my favorite. I love retellings. So I definitely want to come back to this one. And I DNF'd The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walter. I was about that much way in. I also want to come back to this book, but it's a summer read though, so I kind of want to read it in the summer. And number 2, Most Disappoint. The book that most disappointed me, I think. I really shouldn't have paraphrased these questions. Like I said, All the Bright Places by Jennifer Needham. I didn't necessarily have high hopes for it, but I was also why did I set the level so high? There was no need. You know what I mean? I didn't need to expect that much. Anyway, those are some of my books from this year. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here and sticking till the end. I hope you enjoyed. So yeah, let me know how your reading is going so far this year. If you've been reading, if not, that's also okay. It happens. So hope to see you in the next one. Bye!